Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice, everyone. Today I am joined by Brittney Slays from Unleash the Archers.
Hello.
Hi, Brittney. Thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you for making time. And first questions, always in this series. Brittney, I admit I already know this answer, but do you like tea or coffee better?
I like tea. Can you see it?
Sometimes all you need is a good book and a cup of tea. Ooh, I agree. And I have a feeling
I'll have like a latte sometimes, but even then, most of the times it'll be like a tea latte, chai tea latte or something like that. So, but
Ooh.
definitely a tea drinker.
Yeah.
Cheers.
What's your favorite kind of tea?
I like green teas with like berries, that kind of thing in it.
Ooh.
And I like chai tea with vanilla mostly. Anything kind of like black vanilla teas-ish, rooibos, that kind of stuff. But I'll drink anything. Like I literally will just try anything.
What kind are you drinking today?
This is the berry blend that you sent me, actually.
Yay!
I used my new in-mug steeper for the loose leaf that you sent. Thank you very much, by the way.
You're welcome.
So awesome. But yeah, that was one that I was most excited to try. So it's like, I'm going to try that one first. And it's great.
That's perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely love tea. Okay. Yeah. We have a ton of questions for you. Some of them come from doing lots of prep work and research. So shout out to Kirk and Paolo for helping with that too. And to our patrons also who helped with some of that. And we have questions from them at the end as well. So, want to dive in?
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'm ready.
So you're from Western Canada, right? I'm from the Pacific Northwest. So hey-o, from Washington State.
Nice.
So I have this big question of why, when you're pursuing this huge musical career and often you need to be in places like LA or New York, why'd you choose to base still in Western Canada?
I don't know. I just love it so much. I love Vancouver. It's so beautiful. It's where the mountains meet the sea. It is literally this gorgeous ocean and like beautiful beaches and like a seawall, which is this really nice walk right along the water. And then you have the mountains right there, like snow-capped, huge, beautiful mountains. I'm sure you're familiar with them, the Cascades.
Oh, yeah. They're beautiful.
And yeah, exactly. And they're huge. And so, there's like snowboarding and skiing, and then there's also like surfing and wakeboarding, whatever, all that kind of stuff you want to do all in one place. And it's so beautiful here. I just can't. I've traveled to a lot of places, um, over my life with the band and with choir and with work and lots of travel. So every time I just find myself coming home and kind of being like, I love Vancouver so much, and that's not to say that there aren't beautiful places out there. I really loved Japan. I thought that New Zealand was beautiful. I loved San Diego. I thought that was a really great city. Chicago was cool. Edinburgh was cool. Like there's so many beautiful places, but just at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know if I really just don't think I could live anywhere else. I'm spoiled.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely miss a lot of things about it for sure. Like the smell. It just smells glorious.
It's beautiful. It's rainforest and ocean and mountain, like the ultimate candle or something.
Oh, that's cool. And it's also like moist. So it's not like having to have dry vocal folds all the time.
Yeah, right? That's true.
I love that. Is there a pretty healthy arts scene usually? I should say usually in Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean we have good metal scene here, lots of bands. Like it's harder being over here to get noticed and to kind of be on the big stage when it comes to mainstream media, that kind of thing. So, we don't have like huge bands coming out of here all the time, but there's been a few, and huge like music scene in general. A lot of great venues. We have the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra and Vancouver Opera, and a lot of great shows that come through. Broadway shows always come here and that kind of thing. So in general, really good art scene. Beautiful, like local ballet company too.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of great things. Yeah. I love it when you can go.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip ahead to another question, but we're going to come back and circle back here. That's because you mentioned it's hard to get noticed sometimes when you're in other places. So I know that you guys, with Unleashed Archers, you started out independent and eventually, I think, went to Napalm, and Napalm is now the label that represents you. Can you talk a little bit about the struggles of being an independent label, what it was like to sign with Napalm, and like what are some of the things that they help you with today?
Sure. Yeah, being independent, well, it's kind of just like this learning curve that every band has to go through. You don't really know what you're doing or what choices to make or where to put your money. That's a big one. Um, so, I think every band is going to say that they had those same struggles, but around what was it, 24 the end of 2014, when we finally did sign with Napalm, we felt like we kind of had it figured out. We were really excited. We had Time Stand Still pretty much done,
Mhm.
and we had already done 2 music videos for it, and we had put out like a little teaser demo on YouTube, and we were kind of like, guess what, guys, like it's coming, and we were just really excited. And then the teaser demo, I think, is what got Napalm's attention. And they
Hmm.
kind of were like, "Hey, are you putting out a record?" And we were like, yeah." And they were like, "Well, do you want to do it with us?" And we were really torn by that because, we had a great distributor that we were working with, CD Baby. They had us on
Hmm.
all the digital platforms, and Bandcamp. We uploaded to Bandcamp ourselves, and because of CD Baby, we were in Amazon on all of the brick and mortar stores that Amazon supplies to, and like it wasn't crazy huge physical distribution, but we were pretty covered, and we had our music video game going. Like we were getting good views on General of the Dark Army, which was the music video that we did for the album before. And we kind of felt like we were hitting our stride, and we had it figured out. And then it was all of a sudden kind of like Napalm just being like, yeah, well, yeah, all that money that you guys are making, can we like take most of that, please?
Mm.
And but the thing was is that we weren't like making a lot of money, but it just felt like all of a sudden we were going to give away everything that we had worked so hard for. So it was a really we definitely talked about it, about whether or not signing to Napalm was the right decision. And but at the end of the day, obviously the opportunities were far greater, and no one will really look at you, and no physical publications, no digital media. We weren't getting front page spreads or anything like that. I mean we're still not, but that's not, that was just, it was never even an option for something or someone like Metal Sucks or Decibel or any of those kind of publications to know who we are. But all of a sudden it was kind of like Napalm could get us there.
Mhm.
And also booking agents. We had reached out to many trying to get out of Canada because we had toured America one time with a booking agent that booked us like 10 shows, and like I think like all but 3 of them fell through. And
Oof.
so it was just kind of like, oh, we need touring representation, and couldn't get management or anything really. And we knew that Napalm was going to be able to help us out with that. And so it was kind of like the opportunities were going to outweigh the having to share everything that we had worked so hard for with someone else. So we signed, and we're really glad that we did. It was, there's been ups and downs, but they're awesome, and they work really well with us, and they are constantly coming up with awesome ideas, and yeah, like they're just, they've got great people, and we've really, just kind of learned to figure out how they work and what we can do, the maneuvers that we have to make to get their attention sometimes. For a long time there, we were very tiny fish in a very large pond. So, we figured it out though, and we're happy. We we really enjoy being a part of the Napalm family, which has grown exponentially. The fact that we were in a large pond back then, just looking at it now, it's ginormous, but we kind of know our way around now.
Yeah, they're a really awesome label, and they helped put us in contact with you. So we're super grateful for that.
Yeah,
But
they are
yes,
very good at that.
yeah, definitely like working with them on our end as well. Okay, so we're gonna go back to Canada. So you attended University of Victoria School of Music, but you decided to major in history. I was reading about this and I was like, whoa, what made you decide to get a degree in history instead of voice?
Well, it was actually, I was pursuing history first, and then I started taking music classes
Oh, I got it backwards then.
because I wasn't in choir for first year. I was playing rugby, which was kind of like number one
Amazing.
on my list of, yeah, it was pretty funny. I was just like that. I put rugby first for a long time there. Yeah, I'd played for like the regional, like the state team, I guess would be the equivalent of. I'd played for Team BC and stuff like that, and it was just really important to me. So I was going to school or sorry, I was playing rugby and going to school, and then I
In that
really,
order.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And no matter how much my mother was like, "Stop, your priorities are wrong," I'd be like, "No, no, no, just fine. Thank you very much." Um, and yeah, so but I really missed music a lot, and I was just like, I kind of couldn't figure it out. I was like, why do I feel like incomplete right now? Um and I was talking to my mom about it over the summer, after first year, and she was like, well, there's a choir there. She's like, they're like Juno award winning, which is the Canadian equivalent of the Grammys. Um, she's like, "You should join." And I was kinda like, "Oh, I don't know, like, I'm not that good." I'm not a very good singer. And, I was like, "This is a crazy good choir." Like, they traveled all over the world, and I was so freaked out. But then I couldn't not do music. I just missed it so much, and there was just this huge gap in my life. So I tried out, and the I got on the team. Back into rugby terminology here.
Mm.
Um, and I think it was mostly because of my range. I could sing alto and I could sing
Ah.
really low. So he was like, "You're in." And even though my theory was not good and like my sight reading was abysmal, and so he's just like, "Okay, I'm gonna put you in the alto section." So I was like, "Yep, sure, cool, fine." And there was four of us versus like 50 sopranos. So I was like, "Oh, I see, got it." But I learned so much from them the first year that I was in choir, which was my second year university, which is when you have to declare your major. So
Oh.
I had already declared for history, and then in third year, that's when I was like, man, all I'm surrounded by all these musicians every, whatever it was, Tuesday, Thursday at choir practice, and they're all pursuing music as their major, and like they're all having so much fun, and I just wanted to be around them more and stuff like that, as well as take part in everything. So I started taking classes, whatever ones I could get. And it was really funny because kind of I loved history so much that it's really funny because when I initially went into school, it was for the writing program. So I was yeah, I was majoring in like creative writing. And then the first year I was like, this is stupid. Like, what am I going to do when I graduate? So, of course, history, which will get you nothing as well. Super funny. So I'm like, I have to have something more practical. But I'd taken a lot of history in my first 2 years. So I was pretty much like ready to go when it came to qualifying courses. So I had so many electives in third and fourth year that I just like probably three-quarters of my time was spent in the music building and
Nice.
taking as many courses as I could. Every single course I could get my hands on without being a music major.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like just learned a crazy amount there. I took like lyric and diction and um your body and your voice and like all these different ones and like hilarious classes too. Like I can't remember, it's like percussion for beginners or something like that. And like just every music class I could get my hands on. Because I kind of realized like I should have been majoring in music. I was being a Dumbo. But I learned a lot just from, all the periphery courses that I could take. And that's really kind of where I learned about my voice, like physically, and figured out what I could do. And the fact that me and, three other girls could hold off an entire soprano section,
Yeah.
is just kind of a testament to everything that I learned
Yeah.
in that, at the UVic School of Music. So it was kind of just like me picking up the pieces basically. But I also like, frick man, I love history. I just love it. Don't get me talking about anything to do with history after I've had a couple at a party because I will talk your ear off.
That sounds fun. I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Maybe. I don't know, depends.
Right. And we both sip tea. So okay, you were talking about body and voice, and you know what? I have questions. I always like organize them in this what seems like a really logical order over here on this other screen. And then I'm like, wait a second. No, she talked about voice and her body. So can you tell me how you think about support for your voice? Like, what does that mean to you? How would you use that to help you sing?
So whenever I have anyone like, I mean, I'm not saying that they're like, I get emails all day long, but sometimes fellow female vocalists kind of starting out in the scene or just looking to do like a power metal style or whatever, they'll reach out and they'll say, like, what kind of tips can you give me? And I always say pretty much the same thing. It's like my voice spiel, which is
Yay!
there are three parts to your voice. There's your mouth and tongue, kind of this whole area. There's your vocal folds, and there's your diaphragm. And the vocal folds are passive, and you should never really think about them aside from if you got a dry voice or anything like that, some issue there, taking care of them, no dairy, no ice water, no lots of things that you shouldn't do before you sing, no sugar, all that kind of stuff. That's really the part is just kind of about protecting this area. But the active parts are your mouth and your diaphragm. And the diaphragm is where the power comes from and is the foundation. And if your diaphragm is in tip-top shape, you never have to think about a single note. Your body it'll be like muscle memory, and it'll be ready to hit every interval, or if you got a wail or you got a super long extended note or you got a huge phrase that you have to get through. If your diaphragm is at its maximum, then you never have to worry, you'll hit it every single time. And just kind of like how to work it out, staccato exercises, and like physically put a weight on your diaphragm and practice lifting it up, and stand there and watch your tummy move in the mirror, like really focus on like literally working out that muscle and turning it into, a solid foundation for your voice. And then it's kind of like a trampoline bouncing a laser beam off your mouth is really what I think about it. So it's like
description.
So it pops the laser beam like a shot, and then where you put it in your mouth determines tone, pitch, style, head voice, chest voice, falsetto, a little bit of grit, whatever, nasally, anything that you want. That's really where all the magic happens, because your diaphragm is extremely important when it comes to just sheer power and support. But your mouth is kind of where you got to play around with your mouth. You got to figure out where things should sit, where it feels right. There are some notes that I can't do without like doing it out of the side of my mouth, like it's just, that's just the way it
like
is.
What kind of notes? What kind of notes?
Like just some of the, like when it's not like a full falsetto, but it's kind of like, yo, that kind of thing. Like just sort of, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like this pocket that you got to put things in sometimes. But yeah, so just like learning about your mouth and where to put things and how to place things and just kind of playing around with it is super important. And I learned a lot of that when I was in choir because, you can't create like these crazy resonant low notes. You're doing like some classical piece from Eastern Europe and you got to sound like a didgeridoo, basically. A lot of that comes from placement in your mouth. So, and you don't want to sound like, you know, you don't want to be like super nasally and annoying. And there are some tones, some vowels that you really got to figure out where to put them so that they're perfect and they're not kind of annoying or they grate or anything like that. It's all
Mhm.
about the mouth. When we come back to jamming after having a break, because we don't jam like when we don't have something to do, basically.
Uh-huh.
So it's just me singing in my car, and that's the only practicing I do. But that's always that's the thing that hurts is my jaw and like all these muscles in here because that's where all the tone and control
Oh,
is.
interesting. Yeah. That's so funny. When you said like there's three things, I was like, I wonder if she's going to say the ones that I usually teach. And you basically just nailed them. It's like I say you
Oh,
breathe, you phonate, and you shape. Like
yeah.
that's your
Yeah.
three steps.
Woohoo!
That's it. Yeah, like it's really complicated, but
Yeah.
like that's it. That's awesome. Okay, I had a few others in here. Ooh, okay. So we were talking about like aiming at different places. Um, do you have particular spots that you look for to like really vibrate, like in your cheekbones, or is there a sweet spot that you tend to go for?
It depends on the voice that I'm using,
Hmm.
really. So, um, like belting. I do a lot of belting with that grit sort of to it. So that's
Yeah.
always like through the hard palate, kind of like you're just driving the sound up and like through your nose, kind of. I don't know, like if you could just tap a nail through my sinuses into my hard palate, that's kind of the direction it would go. Yeah. So
Okay.
I really focus on just like pushing it
Uh-huh.
right through there. Pushing that laser beam through the roof of my mouth really is what it is. And then, so that's kind of like a little bit more of forward placement. And then all my falsettos, anything where I don't want to go into high voice, but I want to give it that kind of, I call it like the Jeff Tate sound from Queensryche
Oh,
because he
I
does it so well.
just was introduced to him. He's amazing.
Oh man, I love him.
Hmm.
Absolutely love Jeff Tate. He really actually is listening to him is really kind of how I learned to do my
Really?
falsettos on my soft palate because I just kind of would listen and be like, how when you hear singers or you're watching singers, you can kind of see where they're placing things, and
Not
like
everybody can do that, but yes, I know exactly what you mean. It's like, oh,
yeah,
I know he's right there, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, yeah, and so you just
yeah.
kind of work on mimicking that really,
Isn't that weird?
and then
Like that you can just sense where when you hear
oh yeah,
somebody singing, you can just sense it. It's such, yeah, it's fascinating. Sorry,
yeah,
keep
exactly.
going.
And then, like, I don't know, belting is kind of weird. A lot of times I feel it's like I envision it kind of in like my lower jaw, like kind of in that.
Ah,
Yeah, it's really weird, but that's not where I place the sound. It's definitely like kind of
like a
it's
sympathetic
most it's
vibration,
not
maybe?
yeah, it's like, I don't even know. It's kind of like I feel like I'm hollowing out the sound. So like the belt is just taking up this whole little globe of space in my mouth, and I'm directing it at that point kind of between the soft and the hard palate for the most part. That's where I feel like it's the
Hmm.
most um kind of yeah, like it resonates the best tonally, but
Hmm.
I always focus on keeping that part open so that I'm never using my throat when I'm doing it. And sometimes I'll get tired and I can feel it kind of like slipping back and I'm like, "No, like come on." You know? Open
Yeah.
it up.
Yep.
Because yeah, then otherwise you start using the wrong parts of your body and you're going to ruin your voice.
Yeah, and then it gets
So,
tired. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like just like a ball that sits in the right in the center of my mouth, really, I guess. And those are the big ones. Those are the main ones that I use.
It's really cool. Really, really cool to hear you describe it. Okay, so style blending. Let's talk about that. Like, would you ever shift something if you were singing in a different style?
Yeah, probably. Yes, I think that's probably a big part of it. Um, I mean, I try not to go into head voice too much when singing, but what's really funny is that a lot of times live, if I'm having an issue, something like really dry vocal folds or just like dry in general. And like I can't get my soft palate to do what I want it to do, which happens.
Like,
Yeah.
we want to go up.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Okay.
it won't like bounce the sound the way you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll kind of pop it up into like a semi-head voice. So it's like bordering on nasally, it's really weird. I don't even know how to explain this one. But yeah, I think I think style and placement are kind of hand in hand, really, at the end of the day. Um, if you want that gritty kind of belting, it's all like at the front of your mouth. And if you want that kind of power metal vibe, it's on the soft palate. And I was doing a guest speaker spot the other day, and one of the kids was like, how do you switch between different parts? Like, how do you go from doing a falsetto to a gritty belt in the same phrase? And it's just kind of like, it's just like you practice like crazy, and it doesn't matter if I've done it a million times. If I'm not warmed up, if I'm not in good shape, I'll muck it up every time too. Just you know what I mean? It's just about kind of figuring it out how you should do it for your voice and where it feels the most comfortable.
Yeah, it's kind of like performance sports, right? You
Yeah.
got to practice to shoot that 3-pointer. It's going to happen, but you got to practice.
Yeah, exactly. You figure it out. You get that muscle memory. You're going to hit it every time, but sometimes you're not quite there yet and you miss.
Well, what do you do to take care of your voice so that it's there for you, especially on tours?
Oh, tours is like a whole thing. I have like vitamins that I take
Ooh, which
that
ones?
well, I take D because when you're on tour, a lot of times you're either in the venue, you're in the bus, or it's nighttime. So that just kind of keeps you in good spirits, I guess you could call it, because sometimes it can get long and arduous. And then I take like every type of immunity supplement you can think of, oil of oregano and
Yeah.
C. I know.
Do you do the one
But
that's like underneath your tongue that's like kind
I
of
do
spicy?
the pills. I
Oh, the
do the
pills.
pills.
Okay.
But you still burp oil of oregano for like 2 hours straight after.
Great fragrance, right?
I'm always just like, oh man, it's so bad. But it's really good. And then like vitamin C and B12 for energy, and mostly, oh my God, I can't even think of them all right now. I literally get one of those like Sunday through Saturday things. And I have them like all set out.
There.
And there's a lot of them because the worst thing about being on tour as a singer is that you can't get sick. You literally cannot get sick because it just destroys everything. So that's kind of an important part of it. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't really drink at all. The boys party hard all the time, but I just can't put my voice through that. It's not just about like actual, consumption of alcohol. It's the fact that you get drunk, you start yelling, and you know what I mean, and you're up really late, and your voice needs to sleep. Your voice needs rest. So it's just unfortunate, but not a big party person on tour. But when we have a day off the next day, that's when I get to have my good times. And then, and like never cold water, never ice water, never ice cream, never dairy, nothing, like no chocolate, none of that the whole time. That stuff just makes you super phlegmy.
Oh my
It sucks.
goodness.
It sucks.
I don't know how I'd
And
survive
then,
without chocolate.
lots of tea. I definitely have lots of tea. It's like I wake up in the morning and I have a green tea, and then before the show I'll have like, I don't know, usually something herbal, anything, chamomile or lemon or something like that. And then like hot water with lemon or warm, like
Mm-hmm.
boiled water that I've let sit for a little bit right before the show. And then if I am feeling like particularly dry or anything like that, I have a little kettle that I bring with me. And if it's not in North America, if it's like in Europe, I'll steal one or get the venues to have one there for me so I can boil water and then inhale the steam
Steam.
if ever I'm feeling like super dry or anything like that, which sometimes happens. Stress is really bad for that when you're on tour. It's not as bad as it was before, but before, when I was like booking all the tours and I was the one that was doing all the organizing and making sure we get to the venues on time and all that stuff, and like doing the merch and everything, like that was intense back in the day, and having to play a show. So pretty much just had that kettle tied to my belt at all times. But it's getting better now that we have other people to take care of that for us. So,
That's good. Have you ever
but
done,
yeah, it's kind of,
is it the apple cider vinegar remedy? Did you ever do that one?
no, I haven't. No. What is,
That's one that a bunch of opera singers swear by. I include myself among them. That was one of my favorite, because it's apple cider vinegar and honey and hot water, and it's like kind of like lemon and hot water and honey. It's a similar thing where it just kind of drains it, but it also
mhm.
has some really good vitamins and helps the immune system. Anyhow,
Oh,
it's one of my
nice. I'll
favorites.
have to give it a try.
It's pretty cool. Make sure you use like the Bragg stuff. Don't use the white stuff. Use the stuff that's got, an actual apple cider in it.
Okay. A little bit of punch.
Yeah. It was really good though. You can find it online. I'll send it to you. That's fun. Okay, so one of my big questions always for vocalists is, what if you do get sick? Like, I know it's so scary, and canceling a show is rough. It feels like in some cases it's just impossible. So when you have gotten sick, what did you do?
I played the shows.
Mm-hmm.
There was a tour in 2016, I think, or 2017. One of them, I can't remember, where I got sick, and it was only like a 2-weeker through the US, and I was sick the whole time.
Oh.
And I just wasn't at full capacity. It was really sucky. I couldn't belt like
Mm-hmm.
at all. So, yeah, it was just really difficult. And I basically just kind of would save my voice up as best as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And then like try and gently warm it up and then like give it my all on stage. But it really wasn't the best. And it was funny because, my head voice was totally fine, of course. The thing I don't use on stage. So ended up putting a lot of stuff up into my head voice. Things that I would usually belt or push, I would just go up into my head voice,
Mm-hmm.
and really sucked. But our manager at the time came out and was like, "Wow, that was great! You guys are awesome! Like, great show!" And I was like, "Yeah, it's all right, but like, wait till one day when you see us when I don't have a cold." And he was like, "No, no, you're stupid." And then like the next year, we came back and I was in perfect shape and did a show, like perfect show. And afterwards, he was like, "Okay, you weren't joking." He's like, "I didn't realize what the difference was." He's like, "But yeah, wow." Um, Crazy. And I was like, "Yeah, welcome to being a freaking vocalist, man." Like the guitar players, they can be, completely hungover and maybe they'll flub a few notes or whatever, but it's not quite as bad as having your body be your instrument, which is
Yeah.
really just the worst. I don't know how many times I've been like, "Oh man, like why can't I just strum
Why
strings,
can't I
you
just
know?"
like boop, 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 right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, keyboards. Like, sure, that'd be great. Like, what are the chances your keyboard's ever gonna suck? Well, you got slow fingers. I don't know. Yeah, kind of crappy. But yeah, I've never canceled a show due to being sick. And in fact, there was one where we were all sick, and
Ooh.
um, we didn't really. We were really lucky because it hit after our set, but the whole bus got like food poisoning.
Oh.
Oh yeah, it was not good. And but it kind of hit me while we were on stage,
Uh-huh.
and I could feel it kind of like coming on, like I was just insanely weak and I was gonna throw up. I was just like, oh my, like seriously, what is going on? And so for the last song, I like kneeled. I was on one knee and was like singing to the crowd at the very front of the stage, just like hoping that I don't look like a total idiot. But I literally couldn't stand.
Oh.
And I was just like, this is the best it's gonna be. And then I was just like, thank you, awesome, thanks, okay, bye. And then into the back room and like on the ground being like, oh, I'm dying. And Scott was like, what's going on? Like, why are you like this? And then just boom, dropping like flies. Everyone started feeling this way. And then we felt good by, by showtime the next day. But Andrew, for some reason, got hit last, and his hit like midday before the show the next day, and he had to sit on a chair behind the amp and play on a chair. And so I was kind of like, if you're listening to those dulcet tones of Andrew right now but wondering where he is, I was like, he's behind the amp right now because he might throw up at any minute. And I think he got to like the important part. Like he did his last solo, I think, and then we ended with Tonight We Ride or something, which was really not too important. And then he just like was like, Grant, it's all you, but, and was off stage. And it was pretty bad. But I just it would have to literally be me having no voice to cancel a show. And even given that, I probably would still try. I would go on stage and be like, I gotta just destroy my voice right now for you guys, but I really don't want to, disappoint everyone that came here tonight. So let's see how it goes,
Right? Oh. Oh, okay. I have a lot more questions here, but we're gonna like circle back to a bunch of the things that you just talked about.
Okay.
You've answered some of these beautifully already. Okay. Can we go back to the beginnings of the band just a little bit? So you guys you started with Scott in college, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Was that your first band, or did you sing with another band before? First band?
Well, it was kind of my first band. I had, it was kind of like a couple months of jamming with this other project, but we didn't have a name, and we'd only written 2 songs, and I'd only written like vocals for one of them, and I just didn't feel right about it. It was like I answered an ad on, not Craigslist, it was called Live Victoria, which was the website for Victoria musicians. And you would post on there if you were looking for a vocalist or looking to start a band with people, or that kind of thing. And I just answered one of the ads on there for a vocalist, and we were jamming a little bit, but it just didn't feel like the right thing for me. It was very much a symphonic metal band. It had keyboards and just the style, where they were headed. So I kind of wrote the first song with them, and then as we were working on the second one, I was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, guys, I don't think this is right for me. And right around that same time, Scott's band had broken up. So I immediately was like, well, let's us do something, And I called Braden right away, which was the guitar player from his band initially. And I was like, let's start a band together. And he was like, okay. And we started writing right away. And I just loved the direction. Of course, I had so much more control, with me and him being the ones that started the whole thing together. So told the other group, sorry guys, I'm going to start my own project. And, thanks so much for jamming and hanging out or whatever. But yeah. And then, so really, I would say Unleash was my first band. The other one was just kind of, I dipped a little toe in the water there, but never did anything really. Besides kind of jam on stuff. And I would say that Unleash was kind of, we played our first shows together, and we had a name and all the important things, that kind of stuff. So I always consider UTA to be my first band. Yeah.
Your first and only.
Yeah, right? That's weird. That's kind of weird.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. Now, Bruce Dickinson. I read that he's a big role model for you. What is it about him that you particularly love?
He is a performer. he puts on a show. I love it. If I'm not sure if you've reacted to any of his live stuff or watched any of it
Yeah.
Iron Maiden's live videos. Yeah. Right? He's
Yeah.
fantastic. You can't take your eyes off of him. And I
Love
knew,
energy.
oh, I know, right? And I always loved his voice. I was, I was really into metal and heavy music when I was young. I had first discovered Megadeth when I was 8 years old and just loved it. And it was kind of like that was the beginning of it. But then in high school, I fell away from that quite a bit. It was more like pop and rap and hip hop, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So when I graduated high school, I was like, I got to get back into this heavy metal thing. And a friend of mine lent me his Best of the Beast 2-disc CD. And that was the first time I ever heard Iron Maiden. And the second I heard his voice, I was like, oh yeah, yep, this is what I've been looking for. Fantastic. Aces High and, Run to the Hills and just that dueling guitars and everything. And I just loved it. Iron Maiden was like my favorite, is still, my favorite.
Mm.
But then when I started looking them up, playing their live shows, when that started becoming a thing, I was just like, no way, this is the best frontman of all time ever. And I'd been to a lot of shows. Not a lot. I'd been to a few shows. My brother, whenever he was nice enough, because I got a lot of my musical tastes and interests and bands that I liked and stuff from him. So whenever he was feeling nice, he'd bring his little sister to the shows, right? So I'd seen a few, but never the way that when I first saw Iron Maiden live, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, that's how it's done. So Bruce has always just been like my inspiration for what kind of person to be on stage, he's just totally exhilarating, always, constantly. And he's just like, you know what I mean? You can't help but look at
Everywhere.
him. And
Yeah.
and he's just casting spells. And
I love the way he
he's like my
jumps up on the
favorite.
speakers and is like in this big stance. It's amazing.
Yes. Oh man.
Do
And
you
when
do
he
that?
used to, if I can, yeah. If the stage is big enough and the speakers will support me, I will. I'm not a huge fan of getting up on top of like high things that might not support me. I yeah, exactly. I have this fear of falling off the stage or just, oh God, something horrible happening. So
Right.
but I will, I'll get up on like the monitors, and if there's something I can get up on, I'll do it. But not like him, man. He's just, I dream of having a stage like what he does. They build it specifically for him so that he can run up on either side of the drums, and then they give him like a big platform behind the drums so that he can run around back there. And then they build him those ones that come out over the audience on either side,
I didn't know
because,
that.
that's like such an important part of what he loves to do. And I was
Wow.
actually just doing an interview before yours where he mentioned how Bruce is like, it's super important to connect with the audience, and like you look every single person in the eye. And I totally feel that it's super important. I love like like that connection with people, and seeing them in the front row and being like, I see you, like it's just like the best part. And even like people at the back, when there's like when the lighting's really good and you can be like, I'm looking at you, man. And they're kind of like, wait, well, she sees me. It's just kind of like, cool, hey, what's up? Like, cheers. I just love that when they, I just try and look at everybody,
Yeah.
you're not just a face in the crowd to me. I try and connect with each and every person at the show.
I really relate to that. That's one of the reasons I liked singing house concerts more. It's just like they're right there with you, and you can
Totally.
versus singing like when I sang at the Met at one point, like all you could see are the exit signs in the back. You're just like,
Yeah,
where are my
right?
exit signs instead of where are my people?
Right.
So
That's crazy at the Met.
love,
Wow.
It was just a small
Dang.
thing, but the
Oh, just
but I think
the Met.
but I think like that connection is one of the things that makes a person like not just good at what they do, but spectacular. Can you connect to your audience?
Yeah,
It's
for
so
sure.
cool. I love that.
I know a lot of times if I go to a show and the singer is like facing the wall, I'm like, okay, I'm bored. Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing here? What are you doing here? If you're not here to see me and hang out with me, It's pretty
That's fun.
funny.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of connecting with audience, do you play D&D?
I should. I really should, but I don't. I just haven't had the time. And it was not something that I did when I was younger. Like it was not I didn't know anyone that did it. And I'm sure maybe they did, they just didn't talk about it, like it
Yeah.
was not something that I don't know. Um but I really wish I did because it's so up my alley. It's so something that I should do. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying, and so many people have been trying. And like people do like online ones and stuff, and they're like, Brittney, just come hang out. It's on Zoom, like it's not a big deal. And I'm just like, okay, but I don't have the time, and I just
Yeah.
it's really hard to sit down and you know steal 5 hours out of your day or whatever with so many things that you have to do. This is why like people are constantly like, "Did you answer me at 1 a.m. last night?" You're like, "Yes." Like that's when I get the time to answer my emails. So,
Yeah.
but I would love to.
Okay, but I hear that there's some like nerdy background somewhere in there, right?
Oh
So
yes.
uh, clearly books are a
Mhm.
thing. I would say maybe evidenced by the teacup that we saw earlier.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
What do you like to read?
Science fiction and fantasy mostly. Um
Yes.
yeah, so a lot of the big names, Frank Herbert and
Mhm.
um I can't even think of any right now. Glenn Cook, and I haven't gotten into Brandon Sanderson yet, but that's it's on the list.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what those are from. Just
yeah, yeah,
I highly recommend. Okay.
awesome. Um, uh, Joe Abercrombie and Patrick Rothfuss and um, Alistair Reynolds, science fiction, but I like Stephen King too, and all of Margaret Atwood's science fiction stuff, and lots of tons. Just it's never ending. The TBR list is always growing, never gets smaller.
You're right. It's not possible to make that list smaller. You're just like
Yeah.
yeah. You mentioned Joe Abercrombie. I think I just actually got one of his book sets to read. Did he write the Thief book set or something?
Uh no,
A
oh,
series?
he's the Blade itself, the
Okay.
first Law trilogy.
Got it.
Mhm.
Yes. I think that's the one I got actually. I think so. It's on the shelf. I actually got it like a month ago and just haven't had time to read it yet.
I think I have it here.
Oh, and I see the Witcher series back there as well.
Yes, I'm in the middle of that one. So it kind of looks like the whole thing is burnt.
Yeah. Oh my
That's the
gosh, those are
trilogy.
so beautiful. Maybe it's not the
Oh
same one.
man.
Yours look prettier than mine did.
Yeah. Oh dude, you have no idea. I am an OCD book collector. So I got this, and then but this was a dated printing. So they printed it
Ooh.
originally. Um, I can't remember when this one was printed. It was like basically right after the Last Argument of Kings was published. And then so he did 3 more standalones in the same series though. So they're all a part of the First Law universe, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not like this in that they're a trilogy following the same person. So I managed to get 2 of them in this style, but the other one was nowhere to be found. Absolutely nowhere. And I like walked into a million different bookstores and everything, and um one of them was like said that they had it, but then the picture was wrong in their inventory. So when I went there, it was like this stupid new cover that they had done, and it wasn't actually the original. And so I was just hunting all over the place. And finally, I found someone selling it on eBay. And I think it was like the last copy in the whole world. And I paid like $80 for it. But I was like, I cannot have this beautiful on my shelf and have the last book not match. So it actually shipped to me from a bookstore in London.
Ooh. That's amazing. Have you seen
Came with a
the
sweet bookmark too.
Ooh.
Blackwell's on Broad Street.
Wow.
Blackwell on Broad Street. Yeah. Anyways, I was really lucky.
That's cool. Have you seen I think it's like a new hardback version of Dune, the really pretty one?
Oh, the new Dunes are beautiful.
The blue pages,
Man,
right?
I have like the old school ones.
Me
They're all like mass market paper brown size.
too. Mm-hmm.
And I want the new one so bad, but I'm just kind of like, no, I think I'll just stick with it. I have the original 6 all matching.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I'll just keep it there. But yeah, those new ones are beautiful. Man, how do I covet thee?
Right? Hashtag book envy. Right?
Yeah, right? Man, I hate when that happens.
Oh, so I was going to ask about, you'd mentioned diction at one point, and this is actually not on my list. I wanted to ask you, just hearing you speak, you have a little Canadian accent that's present in your speech, but I don't hear that when you sing. Is that conscious? Is that something you trained?
No, I think it just doesn't. It's like English accents, I think, too. You just can't hear them when people are singing, you know? I don't know what it is or how or why, but I think it's mostly, open vowels, that kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
harder to put an accent in. It's really funny because I can hear Scandinavian accents in a lot of singing, but that's because of plosives and closing of sentences. A lot of times they change how those work when it comes to English.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I can be like, "Oh, that's a Swedish person," you know what I mean? But yeah, Canadian, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure how it. It's really funny because um, every time we go on tour, people always make fun of us for being Canadian in our accents, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, a boot, hey," and we'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, a boot." Um, and then like one day we sat down and I was like analyzing, and I was like, "No, you guys, I think we really do say, or it sounds like we say a boot because we say about, and we end the word with an oot sound, about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas usually the American accent it's very open vowel. It's about, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Especially, depending when you get in the South and that kind of thing. So I was like, so it's just maximized when you're used to hearing it so open. Um, to us having it be a closed ooh vowel at the end, it just
Mm-hmm.
the feeling is so drastic. Whereas for us,
Yeah.
we just don't hear it. You know what I mean? So I think it's a lot of times because we don't have those weird closures of vowel when we're singing. That's really the
Uh-huh.
only spot
That
where the
makes
accent is evident.
It makes sense to me too. That's really interesting because I think about, yeah,
Yeah,
and I don't think about going to the diphthong of that, the out. I don't
yeah,
think about going to the ooh, except for at the very end.
yeah.
In both speaking and singing. With singing, it would be even delayed further, more consciously, I would say. But you're right. I hear it go to the ooh a lot sooner in
Hmm.
your speaking. And I grew
Hmm.
up in Wenatchee, Washington, so that was like central Washington. It was we actually had a little bit of Canadian, just like a few of the speech patterns common
For
there.
sure.
So it's very
Yeah,
interesting. People sometimes ask
absolutely.
if it was Midwest or something. Um, so I think it's very interesting that you just described it like that because that's one of the first ways that that's really made sense to me. So
Mhm.
thanks.
And honestly, I work really hard not to end on hard vowels. Like, and I don't mean hard as in like, like hard stop. I mean like vowels that are hard to sing. So
Ah.
I constantly I change like when something is an A, I'd change it to an eh just for, for ease, that kind of thing. Or if it's
Yeah.
an E, I change it to A, that kind of a thing because I just holding a vowel for a super long time, sometimes you don't want it to be the wrong vowel, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Like an
um,
R colored vowel or something where you're like brrr
Yeah,
the whole
exactly.
time.
I really struggle sometimes to be like, how do I say this without, yeah, like having to end on an or whatever. Like, and I do a lot of like, if destiny, if I was ending like say the word destiny, I don't want to sing so I'll say
Mhm.
destiny,
Ah,
destiny. That kind of, so I turn
yeah.
it into, yeah. So it's a lot of times as well. That's probably why I don't hear it, is because I work so hard to not to I guess I could, it's like I try to be poetic with it as
Mhm.
more than anything else, so that it just flows well, and it's not you know gonna force me to end it too soon or be difficult to hold or anything like that.
You are the answer. You are my legacy.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the music. We've already like talked briefly about a couple of different music things that you guys have released, but I'm really curious. You've released 5 albums so far and some songs. Do you have a favorite album or song?
Well, it's funny because favorite album is definitely going to be Abyss, but that's just because it's the most recent one, and it's the one that we have just put a year of work into,
Yeah.
and fussed over and fawned over for the last, however many months. So yeah, that's probably like my favorite record. But there are things that I love about all the old records, and songs that I love on the old records. Like Four in Hand from Behold is like still to this day one of my favorite songs, just because of the way that I wrote it. And
Hmm.
it was hard writing over some of those riffs back in the day, I'll tell you that. So the way that I just kind of played around with it, I loved that. And Battle in the Shadow of the Mountain from Demons was always one of my favorite songs from that record. But I think probably like just over and above them all, I really love Legacy from the last record. It's super theatrical, which brings in like my musical theater background. Um, and and it's not super difficult, so like I can kind of really just focus on performing as opposed to like, making sure that I hit all the notes perfectly. Um, but it's also a lot of fun, and it's just a like catchy, fun song. So probably Legacy. I do really enjoy singing The Wind That Shapes the Land though, because I just get lost in like the story part of that song. And I can see the whole thing happening so clearly in my head that like I don't even like I'll like wake up basically at the end of the song to be like, all right, I'm in the jam spot, like
Oh,
because I'm just like in La La Land the whole time, just kind of, being the immortal. It's really fun. So yeah, probably those two.
that's neat.
I see the clouds are gone. The storm that raged is quiet once again. I feel the stars above, shining on the fragments that remain.
How do you think singing musical theater affected you as a vocalist? Do you feel like you use a lot of the techniques from that or the placement?
Yeah, definitely learning how to belt has really come in handy. Um, too much so maybe. Sometimes I'm really just like, oh my God, I wrote that whole chorus belting. Like, what was I thinking? No breaks, no breaks, no breaths. How am I going to do this? But yeah, it was really, and a lot of it, not just vocally, but like putting on a show, it really kind of helped with that. Like being
Yeah.
on stage, it was constantly like being in choir, you are constantly trying to blend and to make sure that you're not that voice that stands out, and to make sure that you're making the exact same vowel sound as everyone around you, and you close your closes at the same time, and you breathe at the same time, and everything is just all about unity. But musical theater is like, this is my time to shine, this is my
Yeah.
song, I'm doing the number right now, you know what I mean? And that's really kind of, I think, where a lot of my stage presence comes from, for sure, because it's just kind of, um, I started musical theater like classes when I was like 11 or 9 or yeah, I think it was 11.
Mhm.
Because I'd been doing choir for a long time, and then I was like, I want to like act too, and so I started taking like all these classes, and I would spend summers at theater camp. I was such a nerd, and a lot of that stuff. So, like a whole summer at theater camp, like God, get a life.
Wow.
But
A whole
and
summer?
I know.
Not like a week or two, but the whole summer?
Well, a lot of times there would be like I would do a 4-week program, and then there
Ooh.
would be like this other 2-week program that I would do.
Wow.
So a lot of times, yeah, it was like 6 out of the 8 weeks. And then the other 2 weeks I'd be like at a camp or something, like a regular camp with my friends. So it was really funny because there was one year where I literally just had 0 time to do anything. And all my girlfriends were like, don't do that again. Like, we want to hang out with you. Like, this was we had weekends with you, which is like cool or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. Just music has always been such a huge part of my life. And um, now I forgot what we were talking about.
I was
But
asking you
yeah.
about the influence of musical theater, which is very apparent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I loved it. And it was definitely, it was good times. A lot of plays and stuff like that. So
Nah, that's fun. Was there like a favorite one that you had growing up or maybe now?
oh, I mean, I never got a chance to do it or anything. And it's not really it's I guess yeah, it's Broadway, but Phantom of the Opera
Hmm.
and Les Mis. We did Les Mis one year. That was really fun. Um, God, there were so many. Hello Dolly was really good time.
Yeah.
And what else did we do that was good? Oh, tons. I did this one program that was like a variety show kind of thing, and so we
Mhm.
do a whole like every Broadway tune you could ever think of. So like I loved that one because it's really funny because like a song will come on and I'll be like, what? I know this song. I was like, what is this from? And it's like, oh, it's from South Pacific, you idiot, like or whatever, that kind of thing. And I just forget like that I had like so many random show tunes and that I learned over the years that but I don't know, I think yeah, probably Phantom. Oh, but Les Mis is really good too. I honestly I catch it.
That's awesome to know, though. Oh, okay. Let's see. I recently heard about this really cool nickname for your bus, Vangina.
Yeah.
How did your tour bus get such a captivating name?
Well, it's pretty literal. It was like a dark purple on the outside and a really pink, bright,
Oh,
fleshy color
wow.
on the inside.
It's all kinds of special.
So that was pretty much it. Yeah, that was all the boys, but I don't know. I was
Oh,
like, sure, yeah,
that,
Vangina.
that that was my next question, was who came up with that name. Perfect. Okay.
But and it was also a Vandura, so the side of the
Oh.
little tag on it was the GMC Vandura. So
Mhm.
but instead of calling it the Vandura, we'd call it the Vangina. Yeah, pretty funny.
Amazing. Amazing. Uh, let's see. Speaking of tour vans and no tours, coronavirus.
Yeah.
How did that affect you, particularly this last year? I mean, obviously, lots of canceled things. But do you want to elaborate a little bit more and maybe like what hopefully will happen once we're all back to normal?
Yeah, I really hate the coronavirus.
Yeah.
And my whole like motto is COVID ruins everything because it literally did. The only thing that it didn't stop was the release of Abyss,
Mm.
our record from last year, because
Yes.
we just Napalm was like, oh, we should push it back further. Maybe we should do it in 2022. And I was just like, no. I cannot sit on this record for a year, you guys. I'm sorry, but I cannot. I was like, I am in love with this album and it's dark times right now and this will bring people's spirits up. Like
Yeah.
let's just do this. And this was like end of March when or like early April when Napalm was talking about pushing it back further because we had originally in February discussed doing a June release,
Mm-hmm.
early June. And then they were like, oh, things are looking really bad. Like, we should push it. And we're like, okay. And then in March, when shit hit the fan in North America, then it was like, holy crap. Yeah, now, okay, this is really good. Push it back a little bit further to August from we had it in July, and then it went to August. And then they're, kind of like, yeah, April-ish. They were like, I don't think this is going away. Like, we should push to 2022. And then that's when I just put my foot down. It was like, no, you guys, like, come on, let's do this. We're gonna
Yeah.
make it awesome. We're gonna do so much cool stuff. And they were like, oh, okay, fine. And so I was really, we were really happy that we had something to focus on. And it was insanely busy. So it was like perfect because my whole life was just this record for a little while. And like, I can't remember the final number, but I did something like 300 interviews.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Oh
like,
my goodness,
it
you're
was
such a pro at this.
it was intense. It was awesome. And it was just like, then when everyone really liked it when it came out, because, you never know. It's just
Yeah.
seriously, everyone could have absolutely hated it. We were really experimenting with the synth thing in there, and we had a lot of kind of pop elements going on. So it was kind of like, waiting there patiently. Exactly. I was like, there's no freaking way I can hold on to this thing for longer, So it was really good that people liked it, and it just got a lot of great attention, and people were kind of like, oh, this is cool and different. And so that, that was great. But then nothing. It was like normally where you'd hit the road and tour now and
Yeah.
play the album for everyone. It was nothing. So August 21st came and went, and it was just like, oh man, this sucks. Like, and
Yeah.
it really like sucked. And just mentally, I was just kind of like, what's the point? What is going on? And there was just like a really dark time for a little while there. And
Yeah.
it was really dark at the beginning as well, because 2020 was supposed to be a huge year for us. There was a reason why I was hashtagging everything with 2020 year of tour, because we had dates booked. We had a huge, huge tour booked for the fall. We were
Mhm.
going to go absolutely everywhere, like
Yeah.
Japan, New Zealand, Australia, South America, like everywhere in South America. We were trying to work in India, even Scandinavia, the UK, Europe, North America, like huge. It was going to be huge. And then
Yeah.
and
That
all these
sucks.
festivals, like we had 15 festivals booked. One of
Mm.
them being Wacken, which is just like one of the largest festivals in the world.
Yeah.
And watching
Oof.
those drop like flies, yeah, it was really hard
Oh, I'm
seeing
sorry.
everything that we had worked so hard for
But it'll come back.
like years. It was just, oh God, it was like the darkest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
but
there's a
hopefully,
future.
yes, yeah.
And I'm really hoping. Are you starting to look forward to? Are you thinking about setting up new concert dates, tour dates sometime soon?
Yeah, we've got Europe booked for like November, December.
Amazing.
And so those dates are up and out there, and tickets are available now. I'm still really kind of like, if no expectations, no disappointments kind of a thing. Like, I'm not expecting
Yeah.
it to happen, but I'm really hoping that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then we have other dates booked as well. So we've basically, what we've tried to do is recreate that idea that we had for the fall of 2020 with the fall of 2021, but we're just really not sure
Yeah.
how it's going to go, because a lot of places are still really struggling with this. So
I know a
we've
lot
got,
of fans that want to
yeah,
come and see you, so I don't think that that's gone away. I
yeah.
think it's just grown.
I hope so. I mean, and a lot of I mean, it's going to be great because everyone's going to have had so much time with the record, that we're going to play quite a few songs from it. We were trying to figure out the set list the other day. Oh my God, like choosing is impossible. I don't know how Metallica does it, who have like 200 number one hits. I can't even imagine. But yeah, we're probably going to play quite a few songs from Abyss. So I'm like, everyone's going to have all those words dialed in. I'm going to hear your voices. It's going to be amazing. Like, the best show ever was in Chicago when we came through there at the end of 2018, because
Mhm.
we've had a lot of fans in Chicago for a really long time. So we played this super great venue that it wasn't like huge, but it was a good size, and we sold it out like within 2 days, and we knew it was going to be a killer show. And honestly, I couldn't hear myself sing. The crowd was so loud. And there were some points
Aw.
where I just would stop singing, and it was the most incredible moment like ever. Just seeing all these people singing these words that you had written back at you, it was absolutely like euphoric. It
You're
was the
like, vocal
best. So
rest.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, sweet. Now that people know who we are, I can actually do that, and I won't look like an idiot. You know, 'cause- yeah, no, exactly. I need a break. You guys take it from here. But it
That's
was amazing. So
awesome.
hopefully there'll be lots of that on the tour, that if it happens. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it'll happen.
I hope so. Because
Yeah,
I'm dying over here, man.
I know. Well, we definitely we'll definitely plan to catch you somewhere along the way, so you know that's going to happen. Um,
Awesome.
but let's see. Okay, just a couple more here. I'm going to wrap up, and then we're going to get to some patron questions. So
Cool.
you mentioned Chicago, and that actually brings me to a question that I love to ask, which is, what's your favorite venue that you've ever sung in?
Hmm. Probably. Oh, it's hard to say because I have so many great memories in so many Canadian venues, you
Ooh.
know? Uh, like Starlight Room in Edmonton, and of course Rickshaw in Vancouver. And that's not just us performing there. That's me going to see like some of my favorite bands play there.
Ah, neat,
And
neat.
it's really cool. Um, Opera House in Toronto, and like just kind of, I don't know, cool
Mhm.
moments there sometimes. And then like the crazy amazing venues that we've played over in Europe, because their infrastructure is so different than North
Yeah.
America. They really, yeah, they music is important and culture is important over there, and they get it, and the the government gets it, and they give you money for that kind of thing. Like, who'd have thunk it? But and there's been some
Yeah.
good ones in the States too. I think probably though my favorite would have to be this venue called Z7 in Switzerland. It was an awesome room, and it was a really big stage, and backstage was really good. There was like plenty of green rooms for everyone, and they had like a full-on kitchen with a chef working all night.
Whoa.
So most times, yeah, you get like a snack when you arrive, and then dinner is made. And if it just happens to work out, that whatever slot you're in, that's when dinner comes out, or you know what I mean? Like if you have to do your sound check when dinner comes out, or that kind of thing. It's just sometimes it can not work out well. So you get to the kitchen and the food is cold or gone, basically, because everyone else is eating it. So it was just awesome that he was constantly putting out like fresh food like all night long. So we got a good dinner after the show when you're like really low, when
Oh
you need a
yeah.
lot of energy.
And it's some
Yeah,
Sour Patch Kids.
yeah, exactly. Yes. There was like fresh food after the shows. It's like, this is insane. This never happens. And that's one of the reasons why I love Sour Patch Kids so much, is because when you need that boost, that sort of sugar rush or whatever, because you've just expelled so much energy on stage and you've given everything you have at the crowd, that you come off and sometimes you just kind of sit there for like 10 minutes, and it's really great to just shove Sour Patch Kids in your mouth at that moment. But it's also awesome when there's like fresh food laid out for you. So it's just like, oh man, but it's probably one of my
That's the moment
favorites.
when
Yeah,
you have all of the stuff that you can't have before.
exactly. Yes, I'm like, oh, give me the sugar. Love it. Give
Amazing.
me a beer. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, oh man, in Europe, I loved like between acts and an opera. I love that there's like that cantina that's open. Essentially, you just go grab a beer before you go back for the second half, right?
Nice.
Yes.
Yes.
Anyhow, I don't know. That's a better end of show thing, but I don't know. Sometimes when it's not going to affect you until you're done singing, it's nice.
Yes. Oh yeah. It's just kind of like your reward.
Yes. Let's see. I wanted to know also, this is a twofold question. What do you think the best and worst thing is about your profession?
Oh dear.
I know lots of like very like black and white, like favorite, best and worst. What is a really great thing and a really bad thing about your profession? That's a better way to word it.
I think the really great thing is the traveling. I love
Mm.
traveling. I love seeing new places. I love exploring the cities that we get to play in. I love meeting new fans at every city and talking to them and hanging out and uh, being in a new place every night. It's the best when you're on bus tours as well because you just go to sleep and you wake up and it's like new city, new things to do. Let's, get out and try and see what's going on and check it out and, go see this building or that promenade or that park or whatever, whatever's cool. And then you get to go to the show and it's a new venue, it's exciting and new fans and they're stoked to be there and you're stoked to be there. It's just like the best, touring is the best thing of all time. The worst
Oh.
thing, I don't know, man. There's not a lot of crappy things. I think I don't know, the studio's pretty hard, but it's also like awesome because you get to lay down this music that you've worked so hard on. There's like a lot
Mm.
of pressure for it to be
Mm.
perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're like us, you don't have a lot of money, you book like the 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 very minimum you can to
Yeah,
get it
yeah.
done, right? So there's, you know, you gotta get it done because you only got so many days for your parts, right? So there's a lot of pressure there. And it's just, yeah, it's just stress. The whole thing is stress until the very end when you're just like, oh, thank God, I'm finished. It's done. And then there's all the other crap that happens afterwards. But
Yeah, all the
um
post.
yeah, I don't know. And there's kind of like a lot of, I don't know, like it's not like bureaucratic stuff, but there's
Hmm.
just a lot of background stuff that you got to deal with, I think is really kind of one of the big ones. And the
Yeah.
boys won't really know too much about this because I do all that stuff, but just the logistics of everything and, you know,
The
like even
1
when
a.m.
it comes
emails.
to yes, a million emails. It was so funny. I was exclaiming to Scott the other days because I got my emails underneath 100 on you have the number badge on your phone or whatever. I was just like, I was under 100. I was just like, yes. And then I just kind of slowly chip away at them. And yeah, that part totally sucks. But you know what? It's all a part of the process. And without
Mhm.
that, we don't get to play shows. We don't get to put out new merch. We don't get to make
Yeah.
sure that we have enough CDs printed and we don't get to do interviews or any of that stuff. So it's all part of it and it's all important.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I get that. Okay, I have some people that just super adore you and they submitted some questions. So can
Oh,
I
exciting.
go into a few patron questions?
Sure.
Okay, first one is from Luke Thurman and he asked, I found the world created in the album Apex to be very interesting. Have you thought about doing a sequel album to explain more of the story of Apex? What inspired the story of Apex, and how would you feel if someone wanted to write a book to further explore the world of Apex?
Well, Abyss is the sequel to Apex. So they follow the same protagonist, the Immortal. And so I don't want to spoil it if he hasn't listened to Abyss yet. But yeah, it's kind of it his story isn't ended, but it wraps up a good portion of it. His battle with the matriarch really kind of ends at the end of Abyss. So that part of his story is done. But I kind of left it open at the end to allow for maybe doing, seeing where he goes from here kind of a thing. Or I could do like almost a prequel, or I could do something on the time that happens in between Apex and Abyss. The Abyss. Yeah, because there's like 50 years that pass in between there where the Immortal is asleep and the grandson, who is a character that we meet in the album Abyss, it's kind of all about him and what all the work that he does to free the immortal eventually. So there's a lot to be opened up there. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't had a chance yet, I do track by track videos on the Napalm Records channel. So I did I did 3 videos for Apex and then 3 videos for Abyss, and it tells the whole story of both
cool.
records.
So far beyond stars and the sun, filling my heart up with wonder, unknown. Now to the edge of imagination, open my eyes to phenomenon and hope.
And then also I am in the middle of working on a comic book with a friend of mine.
Creative writing paid off.
Yeah, right. Many years later. So that is going to explain a lot as well. A lot of the in-between stuff, the things that I can't put into music because you don't want me to spit 50 words a second in a song, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said that you kind of have to finesse it into it. So, and imagery is going to be really important in that as well. So you can all finally see what it looks like in my head. So that's hopefully, I'm really like hoping that I'm going to have that done by the end of the year.
That's cool.
And then, so that should tell kind of the whole story. And
Yeah.
as for like a book, I think I'll just like stick to a graphic novel and see if I can see how fat I can make it. See,
Yes.
I think I'll probably do like one for Apex and one for Abyss, and then just tell as much of the story as possible.
That's awesome. And we'll absolutely link to the you telling the stories of that in the about section of this so that people have that readily available.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, really cool. Larry wanted to know, what were your early musical and vocal influences?
So, well, being that Megadeth was one of the first metal bands that I really loved, he wasn't really a vocal influence for me though, but he definitely got me into metal. Mustaine. And I loved Countdown to Extinction. That was the record that I first heard, and yeah, it just was totally enamored with it, and the music, the lyrics, the artwork, everything.
Mhm.
But yeah, vocally, Bruce Dickinson, Rob Halford from Judas Priest was huge. Like I said, Jeff Tate from Queensryche, massive influence,
Mhm.
like huge. A little bit of Matt Barlow from Iced Earth, kind of got that a bit of that epic storytelling vibe from him.
Mhm.
And Daniel Hyman from Lost Horizon is like prime Brittney vocal influence right there.
That's awesome.
It's he's fantastic. He's absolutely phenomenal. If no one's talked about them to you yet, I would definitely check them out. What he can do, his range, his control, his power, the way that he can still be prominent over these crazy guitars that are just going off all the time. Yeah, he was really kind of this aha moment for me when I first heard him. So he helped me big time find my metal voice after singing chamber music for so long. So
That's a huge recommendation right there.
oh, I can't wait.
That's cool. Kirby wanted to know, is there a singer or musician that you would like to have a collaboration with in the near future?
Yeah, that's a hard one. It's really funny because I've always loved Hansi Korsch's voice.
Oh my gosh,
way-
right. Okay.
Yeah. It's just so unique. It's super cool. And I feel like sometimes you hear collaborations and it's between singers that have a similar style of voice. And it's just kind of like, well, wait, which one's which? Why? Why? Guys, you know. So I feel like it would be cool to have someone like him who is just so unique and stands out, and you know, you can really each do your own thing. But then I've been listening to a lot of Amorphous lately, and I love the vocalist for Amorphous. Of course, I can't think of his name right now. I think it's, is it Tim? No, maybe. Anyways,
Mhm.
he's phenomenal. He's so beautiful, like just this rich baritone, but then he's got this really cool scream that sounds like the depths. I don't even know how to explain it. It's so phenomenal. And I think that, I don't know, he would just like steal the show, but it would be a lot of fun to do something with him as well. And I feel like I'd really enjoy writing for his vocals because
Ah.
I do all the writing in UTA, and I write the screen parts as well.
Mhm.
And I just I don't know if it's like I can't help myself, but I just kind of like I hear him, the amorphous vocalist, whenever I'm writing like for the band. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know, just be a lot of fun to get to write a part that he sings. I don't know, might be maybe one day.
That's awesome. I love that idea. Um, and okay, let's see. Karina was asking this, but you mentioned that you don't play D&D. So she'd asked, do your exploits in D&D ever influence the music you write or vice versa? And I want to actually ask, maybe take that and say, does your reading, especially because I know you read so much sci-fi and fantasy, does that ever influence the music you write? Or does your music influence what you would choose to read?
Yeah, no, books have always been a huge influence. Like Behold the Devastation, the first album that we wrote, has a song inspired by The Black Company, and a song inspired by Dune, and a
Ooh.
song inspired by like some video games, Dead Space, that I loved to play back in the day. And yeah, pop culture, insane influence on me. And definitely books. Yeah, the stuff that I've read has been a lot. Like in movies, like I don't know, just the whole fantasy science fiction genre in general. Doesn't matter if it's a video game, a book, a comic, a movie, it's all in there. It's just, I think I was basically like raised on movies. I both my parents worked from a very young age, so I often was at home alone for a large part of the day, and I would just put a movie on and watch Willow or Princess Bride or
I love
Space Hunters
those.
or like just tons of stuff, right? Yeah, and I was a big reader, so I was like always reading, always had a book with me everywhere, no matter where I went. Didn't matter, had a book. And so just my imagination, it's just constantly moving. A lot of dreams as well. Like I
Hmm.
have crazy dreams, so
Hmm.
that influences things as
Mhm.
well, but not quite as much as the things that I choose to consume.
That's awesome. Wow, I love that you mentioned Willow. It's one of my favorite movies from childhood, and still rewatch it sometimes. The music is so incredible. It still lives up. It's amazing.
So good. Yes, I always like to say it stands the test of time,
It does.
because it's like there's very few movies out there that can still, you don't cringe at something about it, or like the
Hmm.
effects are just horrible and it's like, "Oh man, I can't believe I love this." But Willow, it's like, okay, maybe the
The
three-headed
dragon.
monster, yeah,
Right?
it with the fire. Okay, that's probably the
Right.
one thing that's like, all right. But still so good. Everything else so good. Loved
Right.
it. Yeah.
Right. Great music. Ah,
Yeah. Oh yes. So good.
yeah. Ruben wanted to know, how do you market and connect with your audience without being labeled as a female fronted band?
How do you market and connect with your audience without being labeled as a female fronted band? Well, I think we are.
Yeah, to a
um
degree, but it's not like I get what he's
yeah,
getting at. It doesn't feel like there are different kinds of ways to sell. It's not like, here's Brittney.
yeah.
It feels like, here's Unleash the Archers.
Yes. Yeah. And that has been a conscious decision from the very beginning. Um it's really funny because when we first signed to Napalm and we sent them our the album artwork, they were kind of like, what? No. It should just be a photo of Brittney, It's like they didn't say that, they didn't say that. But basically it was like, that's this isn't really the album cover that fits your type of music is
Mm-hmm.
what the comment was. And we were both like, yeah, but no, we've never been the kind of band that is like, look at this girl fronting our band. It's just not, I get what he means. We never push that narrative ever. And it's always been super important to me that everyone understands that, we wouldn't be where we are or sound like the way we do or anything like that without every single member of this band. So, I mean, that being said, yeah, there have been times when it's kind of been like, maybe if we had pushed that angle, we might be a little bit further along in our career. But then it's also kind of like, but we're not going to compromise for the sake of, getting magazine coverage or whatever. I don't even know. You know what I mean? It's just never, it's not something that we're willing to do. So, and I certainly don't like to, and this is just my, my personal opinion on things, and not to say that there's something wrong with those that do, but I just don't like to use my sexuality as a sales tool. I want you to enjoy the band because of the music that we create, not simply because there's a a female at the front of things. So that's
I think
always
people
been
respect you for that too. I definitely hear that when we talk with fans about your music. Often it's like, hey, this is so awesome. They're featuring instrumental solos here too. It feels like the spotlight is shared in a lot of ways, and that's gives recognition to the people that are also making music.
wouldn't be who we are, without you just have some of those people that kind of think that they are the band, and that's none of us is the band. We are the band because of the way we work together, and that's always been apparent, and it's it's just the way that we are.
Totally.
Yeah,
I like that. All right. Last question here. Kirk wants to know, who has the fortune kitty right now?
I love it, Kirk. That's so great. It's at the jam spot, actually. So we all do, kind of. Yeah. He's tucked away though. I found him the other day. I was like, oh, hey, what the heck? We should totally we'll put him on the ledge. We're starting to collect things. I don't like clutter or like jumbles of crap everywhere. I'm a very kind of like minimalist person.
Only nice books.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Do not break my spines, I tell you that. But yeah, so but you're right, Fortune Kitty does deserve a spot. So she's in a box right now. I'll take her out and put her on the ledge, and maybe she'll make an appearance in one of Grant's Twitch streams.
Oh man, Grant's cool. Just gonna put that out there. He's a cool person.
He really is, yeah. Wait, what am I talking about? Grant's a loser. Dummy.
I had one final question that I forgot to ask you, which has to do, it's actually kind of two-part. Do you cosplay? And were the costumes difficult to wear in Mad Max in Tonight We Ride? Like, was that difficult to sing in, difficult to play drums in those shoulder pads? Yes.
Yeah, it was very hot. Yes, Scott was like absolutely dripping by the end of that, because of course he had to work the hardest, and then he had this whole thing on, and oh man, yeah, it was intense. I mean, it was a lot of fun, of course, but I've gotten really used to kind of strapping things on when it comes to performing, so it wasn't too bad actually. I didn't really mind it, and I wore that pauldron for like a long time afterwards on tour and stuff. So,
cool.
But no, I do not cosplay. But that's only because my money always went to the band. Always, I never had extra money to do anything cool. So the band is my cosplay. So I kind of get to like be the warrior that I feel like I am inside up on stage. So that's why that's where I spend all my money.
So people should cosplay as you. That's what I'm hearing.
No. I did have one fan went as me from the Cleanse the Bloodlines video for Christmas one time. I mean, for Halloween one time. For Christmas. anyways, she went as me for Halloween, and I was like, oh no way, cool, I'm a Halloween costume. I like it. But
That's cool.
no, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I try and change it up every tour. I try and always add something new to the mix, but usually it's always just black and armor and whatever I can afford at the moment.
But it looks really cool. I have to say, looks
Thank you.
really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, since we're wrapping it up, can you tell us how can we support you? Where can we find you on social media? Where can we buy your music? Where can we buy tickets? Like all of these things. How can we support you and the band?
All of our merch is sold on indiemerchstore.com. They are like our exclusive merch provider for North America, pretty much, and they ship everywhere as well. We like have direct control, and we work with them on stock and all that kind of stuff. So anything that is new up on there is our the child of our labor, from all of our hard work and everything, all of our merch ideas and everything that we come up with, they all get sold there. And then of course there's Napalm Records on their websites as well. And Bandcamp, you can get our music digitally. They are probably the best when it comes to digital for giving artists a huge cut
Good to
after
know.
fees and all that stuff. It's about 85%. So that's like the
Wow.
best. That's the best out there for sure, digitally. And then as for like shows, bands in town is probably a great place to start. If you follow us on there and then put kind of your radius of where you want to get notifications for shows in, they will like email you specifically and say, hey, Unleash the Archers is coming to a venue near you whenever we book a date. So we put all of our tour dates up there. So that's definitely the best place. And we'll always link to the tickets and stuff like that for each individual show. So everything will be up there. The European dates are getting uploaded there slowly as I get the time. So hopefully soon they'll be up there. We're on all the big social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, but we haven't really done much on there.
Ooh.
And, I was like, great, another thing that I have to keep. But really lately the best place is kind of being on our Discord channel. That's
what?
Yeah, that's probably the where we're the most active. Like we post on Facebook regularly. That's where we do a lot of our posts. But Facebook has changed a lot lately, and I no longer have the access to see things that I used to. It's like I can't see I can see when people post to our page, but I can't react or do anything or answer or reply or anything. And I can't see when anyone has mentioned us. They have a mentions tab now, but it's not in chronological order. So like it'll show me something from like October of 2020, and I'll be like, what? Like, where's the recent ones? And yeah, it's just, and then the messages don't really work anymore. It's all just spam of people trying to like get us to, I don't even know, why would I want to post about like whatever, like random clothing stores on our Unleash the Archers band page? It's like all just spam, or people like mentioning us in their stories. It's literally just blah 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 mentioned you in your story, blah 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 mentioned you in your story. It's just wading through all this garbage. So Facebook is really not a good place to interact with us anymore. It used to be. I loved it. I was like constantly replying to everyone, and it was just like my favorite way to keep in touch with the fans. But it's absolutely garbage now. It really is. So follow us on there if you like. We do post things on there, but it's not a great way to keep in touch. I would say the Discord for that, probably.
Yeah, I love Discord for similar reasons.
Oh, and we're on Twitch as well, but we don't stream too much. Grant has been streaming a lot lately, and I stream every Tuesday, and Andrew is in the middle of a move right now, so he's not streaming, but he usually does stream during the week as well. So, but
cool.
The Discord is probably where we hang out the most. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that gave me a couple more places to find you too. Thank you.
Awesome.
That's super sweet. Anything else we can do to support you all?
No, not really. I think I covered it all. I don't know. There's so
So
you
much.
know.
Well, if
Yeah.
you have anything else, let me know, and I'll post it again in the about section of the video. And just thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're amazing. Thank you for answering so many questions today.
No
I'm
problem.
sure
No
there's going to be
problem.
more that pop up, but thank you so much. And yeah, good luck. Good luck with all the additional touring. I hope it all gets booked up, and I hope that we'll see you somewhere soon. So.
I hope so too. I hope so too. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Bye, everybody.
it.